Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Toxic Talks, episode number 31. We've had a pretty decent last week. We've had our ups, we've had our downs, but in the grand scheme of things, it's been very nice for us. But we have some things to talk about, so what better place than War Thunder? So as you guys can see from this week, we ended up getting our Type 90 and our Type 90B, which was absolutely amazing. Actually, our first game with the Type 90 having the dart round. I'm not going to spoil it because it is this week's, uh, what's it called? Like tank game? Oh, dude, we went freaking crazy. It was incredible. So I'm enjoying top tier Japan. We also ended up getting the Block A variant for the F-16, which we're in the works of getting up at the moment, and we should get it spaded sometime early this week, but we'll have to wait and see. And I'm predicting we might end up getting the F2 by the end of this week, but it might be real late at the end of this week. Either way, we should only have this week and next week left of Japan. And, well, there is something that's coming up that may stop it from being next week, but either way, it should be pretty much 2 weeks left of actual game time in Japan before we switch over to Germany, which should be very nice. I'm excited for. And that's basically the plan. We're coming to the end of the Japan grind, and it's felt longer than it should have, but that's just because we didn't get the Fuji or the F4EJ or whichever. We were stuck with the summer sales tanks, unfortunately. But we're getting through it. We're getting through it. But that's what's been happening in terms of War Thunder. In terms of other things, for Expedition 33, we ended up basically 100%ing the game. We, well, in terms of us, but what we want, but we basically got Lune, Verso, and Mael. Of course, Mael's been done for a while, but we ended up getting them up to 1,000 Lumina each. And I mean, technically speaking, I would like to get Minoko and CL up to 1,000, but I don't feel like grinding out like 2,000 points or whatever it is, 1,800 points to get them up. But I think the plan is I'm going to try to find some time to basically do a final playthrough. Like, we're not going to do any exploring because we don't really need to, but basically enjoy the story 100% all the way through one last time. I know it's crazy to say. I mean, it's probably not going to be the last time, but at least for like a while. But I don't know when I'll end up doing that just because I need to find chunks of time to get through. I think it will take less than 10 hours, so I may be able to just do 2 hours a day and get through what I need to get through or want to get through. But we'll see what ends up happening with that. That'll probably be before like Arc Raiders and all that stuff. And we'll just enjoy that. So, you know, sort of kick it off for the time being. But we've enjoyed Expedition 33 thoroughly. For pretty much everyone, it's their game of the year. It is such a wonderful and remarkable game. And I hear that they're coming out with a DLC, or speculation that they're coming out with a DLC for it. And you already know, if they do, I'm going to be buying it. It's such an incredible game. It really is. I'm basically at a loss for words for it. If you guys haven't tried it, I do recommend, and I will continue to glaze the fuck out of Expedition 33 because it is just that good. But that's in terms of basically Expedition 33 for Night Rain, though, we ended up actually doing the new Everdark, which was honestly relatively easy but very enjoyable. And we have a very good build for ourselves. It's a Frost Bleed build for our Executioner, which is kind of broken because you get the 2 chunks of damage being taken off. But I have noticed recently that my RNG in terms of getting any, like, basically any good drop is just non-existent. I basically have my main, like, my starting weapon, and that takes me to the end because I haven't gotten Eleanor's pole blade, Inkspur's rapier, or the katana, like basically anything. I haven't gotten any of them, so I mean, I guess it's a good thing we have a good build for blood and frost, because this RNG is kind of kicking my butt. But they also came out with a 2-person difficulty for Night Rain, so Carnage and I have been absolutely tearing that up, and we're both veterans of the game, so we sort of kind of make it look easy for 2 players, and we don't have to rely on a third who may or may not rage because they don't get their way, you know. But we've we've been enjoying that. But in terms of other gaming news, which I don't think anyone could have predicted this, because this series sort of has been on the decline for the longest, and I mean the longest time. But Battlefield released a trailer this week for Battlefield 6, and I'll be honest, I might end up getting the game. Apparently it comes out October 10th, so literally right before Arc Raiders, which, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to picking up right before Arc Raiders. I don't think I would play it all that much, but just pick it up and have a good time. I might end up doing that. That might be a thing that I do, which, I mean, it means cutting down on War Thunder, but I mean, that doesn't really bother me all that much, all things considered. Uh, and I'll say this: Battlefield 6 looks really, 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 really good, like incredibly good. And that wasn't on my bingo card for this year, but as we get closer and as more things get released and we know more about the game, I will let you guys know. But more than likely, like about an 80-90% chance, I will be getting Battlefield 6 for October 10th, and that'll take us to Arc Raiders and October 30th, which I'm really, really happy about. But that's basically everything that's been happening with gaming with me. It's been a very, 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 very nice week. But in terms of life, we got our car fixed, so that was nice. The shop that we brought it to, I think they did a fantastic job. There's still a few, like, I wouldn't say scratches, but they're more like, I guess, divots in there. But save money. It's not like an eyesore. Like, they took out all the big bad dents, which is really, really nice. And I think they did a wonderful job. So that's as the saying goes, it's in the rear view mirror. Ha 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 ha. Good dad joke right there. Uh, so, but no, they did a fantastic job. The eyesores are definitely gone, and they did basically exactly everything that we wanted. So I'm very happy about that. I don't need to worry about that anymore. And you have no idea how relieved I am. So again, dad joke in the rear view mirror. Very, very happy. But this next thing I'm not terribly excited for. And I do have a rule: no politics. And I guess this would technically sort of borderline it. I don't think it's necessarily political, as it's sort of hateful, but it definitely applies to my work. But there was a streamer on Twitch recently that said that Jews were not a ethnicity; they were a demonic ethnicity, which then prompted a lot of other streamers to basically say that they are going to contact all the advertisers for Twitch and basically be like, hey, this is your platform. They are quite literally spouting hateful messages against Jews on this platform, and Twitch is doing nothing against it. Now, whether or not you like Jews, that's not for me to say. But I will say this: if you brought any other ethnicity, race, say if you were, if you said the same thing about African Americans, or if you said the same thing about Asians, or if you said the same thing about Latinos and Latinas, I think you would be in an uproar. So when people are going after a certain group, especially a group that within the past 100 years has had some of the most hateful and heinous acts and atrocities done to them, I will say this is kind of disgusting. And, you know, beyond just it impacting sort of my work, because again I do stream on Twitch, and if advertisers get pulled, this could be the downfall of Twitch, which we'll get into. Well, that sort of goes into the weekly advice, but beyond just that, it's just like, this is not the kind of site that you want to be associated with. And I think that's the reason why all these big streamers are basically, yeah, let's go contact all the advertisers. Because again, like, how fucking disgusting do you have to be like, yeah, Jews are bad, Jews are bad? It's like, dude, again, imagine you say that against African Americans, you say that against literally any other race, religion, ethnicity. It's fucking vile. It's fucking vile. Now, whether or not you agree with me or not, that's beyond the pair. But I'm trying to make the comparison. Again, if you said this shit against any other fucking race, religion, you would be upset. So I don't know why we are calling balls and strikes differently. It makes no sense to me. But in terms of it actually affecting Twitch, I think it will affect Twitch. I think it really will affect Twitch, because it's again, whether or not you agree or disagree, it's not a good PR for fucking Twitch to allow these things to happen. And by the way, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. I don't remember the name of the content creator, but he's not the only one who has anti-Jewish sentiment. He's not the only one. There are a lot of fucking big content creators who are very, very against the Jews. It's kind of terrifying, Not in the sense that like, oh, this will affect me in the slightest, but it's kind of like, well, beyond like Twitch closing down and all that stuff, or losing a lot of ad revenue, but it's more like, dude, this is the world that we live in, that people can be so blatantly and openly fucking hateful. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But what can you do? I say if they're willing to be this hateful, honestly speaking, I'd rather see Twitch go fucking under. I would rather see Twitch go fucking under, because again, I don't like hate in any regards. I don't like hate in any regards. The only time I think hate, I wouldn't even say hate, but more defense is all right, is, well, it's in the fucking name, is defense. Like, if someone's being an asshole to you, well, I think you have every right to be an asshole back. Well, not in the same sense, but like, you try to defend yourself. But like, these people are blatantly just fucking Jewish hating fucking people, and it really is distasteful. And I'm kind of ashamed of that I'm even slightly associated with them in, I guess, what would be considered the workplace, And I think, but here's the thing, I am glad that a lot of other streamers are sort of banding together and trying to basically, you know what, if this is what the platform is going to turn into, I'd rather the platform burn. And I'm on board with that. I'm 100% on board with that. I think if this hate is willing to spread, I think fucking shut it down. Shut it down. Which, is a good thing that I'm back to multi-streaming on both YouTube and Kick, because, if it does end up going away, well, all these other streamers, if they're not multi-streaming, if they're just on Twitch, well, they're gonna have to set that stuff up for YouTube and Kick and the like. And we're sort of a step ahead. We're sort of a step ahead, which I'm very, very thankful for. But that sort of brings us to our weekly advice, which is don't be set in your ways. Be able to shift when you need to shift. Be able to, you know, change your direction, whether it be school, whether it be you're starting your own business. Be able to maneuver. And that doesn't mean give up. That just means, hey, like if something's not working or if things need to change in order to work for your life, do it. Do it. And I think the best example I can give of this is from one of the greatest shows of all time, Avatar: The Last Airbender, when Uncle Iroh is talking to Prince, what's his name? What's his name? I forget. The guy who ends up being Fire Lord. Anyway, basically, I think it's in the third book, the Book of Fire, where he's learning how to basically channel lightning. And Uncle Iroh is basically like, yeah, if you want to learn how to channel lightning, you have to basically learn water bending as a firebender. It's like, wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. He's like, yeah, it doesn't, because you only learned how to firebend. You only learned it this way, how to basically be the top of firebending. But if you want to be able to like become above and beyond, you need to learn like water bending, so you're not so rigid like earth bending. And if you want to do something special in fire bending, like learn from earth bend. Like there's not one way that basically dictates your life. And sometimes you need to be able to learn and grow and switch when things need to change. Well, there goes that. But that's basically how I've looked at it, and it's sort of been helpful with me for streaming. This has been extraordinarily helpful for me for streaming. Like before, multi-streaming didn't really benefit me all that much. And I've actually been thinking of maybe restarting my shorts, not on TikTok or Instagram, but just specifically for YouTube. It might be a little bit until I actually get on board with it, because I'm not 100% convinced. But I stopped doing shorts because it just wasn't beneficial to me at the time. The time that it took to make them and cultivate them and then post them on TikTok and Reels and YouTube. YouTube was never really that bad, though. It was really TikTok and Instagram that didn't do anything for me. But I shifted. When if something didn't work for me, I shifted. And the same thing went for multi-streaming. But then things changed where I was like, maybe multi-streaming might be beneficial to me. And I'm sort of shifting and changing. And it's never good to be rigid in like, oh, this is the only way that it's gonna work because it worked in the past. No, things change. Things change. And you have to be able to be mobile. And I think when my dad watches this and my mom and my family, they're gonna be like, yeah, he's right. He's right. And like I said in the last week's Toxic Talks, they do watch it, and a lot of the time, they don't necessarily agree with me, but sometimes they do. Sometimes they do, and that's okay. That's okay. But I'm pretty sure they'll agree with me on this one. But that's what I have for you guys for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Toxic Talks. I hope you guys had a wonderful week previously, and I hope you guys have a wonderful week ahead. It's almost coming to the end of summer, so enjoy the last few weeks of summer before school and fall starts. And just make sure you guys relax as much as possible. But that is all I have for you guys. So again, thank you to everyone. I hope each and every one of you guys has a wonderful, wonderful day. And as always, take care. And I'll talk to you guys later.